2 years ago, I claimed that Finland would win Eurovision in the next 5 years. One pantsless man and one Erika Vikman later, I have 3 more years for this to come true. Now we have our 7 songs for this year's edition of the Finnish national selection, UMK. It's time to see whether 2026 will finally be their year. UMK is probably the strongest national selection anywhere in Europe right now, and nothing about 2026 suggests that this is about to change. We have another set of really strong songs and hopefully some really strong performances to go with them. Honestly, every single national selection could and should be learning from their example at this point. Very quickly before we get into it, this video is once again sponsored by myself and my Patreon, where you can get videos a day early if you become a member. This is my full-time job. I like being able to pay my bills, and any contribution is very much appreciated if you are able. Now, just like we did last year, we're going to go through these 7 songs and see if any of them is a winner. We're starting with Etta with her song $1 Million Smile. This song is going to be on every radio station in Finland all the time for the rest of the year, just like Ulla Voimainen and Hitta min hautaan were in past years. For that reason, Finns are going to need to get very used to hearing it. It's solid, it's catchy, it's well produced, and given the subject matter, which we'll come onto in a moment, it's really quite uplifting and optimistic. Etta is one of Finland's most successful female hip-hop artists, and the fact that she's here is another testament to the pull that UMK has. Since 2018, she's had a hatful of hit singles and 3 top 10 albums to boot, with one of them going all the way to #1. This song is probably bound on the same trajectory as the 2 songs I mentioned just before in terms of becoming a big radio hit, but not necessarily winning the competition. It'll probably get a fair few award nominations as well. I think this is probably a fairly consensus point of view. What I do find interesting about this, though, is how the actual subject matter of the song reflects Etta's personal journey over the past few years. Etta is singing about her childhood and the difficulties that she faced at school while struggling with alopecia, a condition with a variety of symptoms, but most visibly, it makes your hair fall out. She sings about how she's learned to get through anything with her $1 million smile, as taught by her mum. The thing is, she didn't used to sing about her childhood like this, and she didn't used to reflect on it in the same optimistic and forward-thinking tone. If we take a look back in her discography, we find songs like Prinsessa, where she lays out in pretty bare terms how difficult things were for her, both as a young person and still to the time when it was released. 15, A Girl Without Direction, Little Tipsy, Somewhere in the World, Mom on her bed staring at her cell phone, Heart is beating when sirens are blasting somewhere, Midnight, Can't Walk Anymore, It Won't Take Long, The Girl is Carried Home, Crown Broken, Cut Film, The Little Princess Lies with Her Eyes Closed. She then, in the same song, moves on to a different point in her life. 23, What Has Changed? The smile has not been on my face lately. I have never felt so alone. Without my friends, I would probably have been crushed. When was the last time I slept properly? Here I am, I look for answers from the bottom of the bottle. Crown lost, the princess is in trouble. Where is the happiness that fairy tales promise? To hammer this point home, she was 23 when she released this song. She was talking about her feelings in real time. This was someone who had not been okay as a teenager and still wasn't as a young adult, and who carried so much of the weight of her trauma with her. Now, compare and contrast that with what we get in $1 Million Smile 4 years later. My heart may break and mountains may shake. I don't care, I'll get through it because I got this gift from my mother. I have $1 million smile. The whole tone is completely different, and when you take these 2 songs together, it totally frames it differently for me. It's pretty difficult to explain the weight of trauma to those who haven't experienced it, and even less possible to understand how to come to terms with it when you haven't yet found a way to do that. Incidentally, I can think of one excellent example of another song in a Eurovision context that functioned as part of an absolution from trauma. That was Europapa by Joost Klein. The imagery, of course, is a little different. While the concluding image of Joost's music video is the collective pastiche of his childhood up in flames, Etta sings her song surrounded by playground equipment, swinging on the same swings that she'll remember from when she was a young girl. But she has an entire stadium laid out behind her. To me, this says that she's found a way to love herself and to heal that part of her childhood, and to love the child that she once was. Both this conclusion and the Europapa conclusion are equally valid sets of conclusions and absolutions from childhood trauma. I think we can apply the same closing mantra from Europapa here too. Joost's father taught him about the world, and Joost listened. Etta's mother taught her that she could always rely on her smile. In this song, Etta shows us that she listened. Next up, we're going to the fastest song to 1 million views on YouTube in the history of the competition. That's Linda Lampenius and Peter Parkkonen with Liekenheten. This is why I love UMK. Every year since 2023, there has been at least one song which has absolutely blown me away, that has carved a unique path and has raised my hopes for what we might get to see from Finland at Eurovision that year. Linda Lampenius and Peter Parkkonen, you have delivered that moment this year. Linda has one of the longest Wikipedia articles I've ever seen, such as the breadth of different projects that she's been involved in over her career. On the musical front, she's a violinist with such international acclaim that she seems to have played in just about every concert hall and with just about every orchestra on the planet, as well as having released a string of her own albums. Outside of music, she's designed sofas, gotten into the business of selling her own branded cider, become a member of Helsinki City Council, written a book and raced rally cars. If you asked her what her job is, the most accurate answer would just be yes. Meanwhile, Peter Parkkonen has half a dozen top 10 singles to his name, including features, released 4 different albums, and previously took part in Finnish Idol, although that was a little while ago back in 2008. Since then, he's become a household name. He actually finished 3rd on that show, which proves once again it is never the winner of these shows who end up being really successful. He gives me the vibe of the type of singer that your average Finnish mum is going to really adore. These two have come together to produce a really interesting duet between vocals and violin. It's one with absolutely bags of potential. That will depend, though, on what we see live on stage. The song, with the title translating to Flamethrower, is sung from Pete's perspective, painting a picture of someone who, behind closed doors, is engaged in a relationship with someone, but this person won't so much as look at him in public. He's singing about the pain of being stuck between staying and going, and how his love interest keeps pulling him back in. Linda's violin, from my perspective, feels like it represents the love interest in some way. And the different ways in which this is played through the song, with the use of legato and staccato playing, and pizzicato, which is where you pluck the strings, sort of representing some kind of indication of how this person switches up on Peter several times a day as well. It strikes a totally different tone to previous violin-based efforts in Eurovision, while being along a similar subject matter. Fairy Tale by Alexander Rybak is the obvious comparison here, which was a lot more bubblegum and a lot more yearning rather than just kind of sad. He's back in the Norwegian national selection this year, by the way, but that's a conversation for another time. The point of all of this is to say, despite the fact the mood is so different, I think the energy of the vocal and the violin blend really well together. It all culminates into a huge finish with chopped vocals from Peter, which, if he pulls them off live, will be an absolutely show-stopping moment. Hopefully, before we get there, the staging will be commensurate to that too. And that's where the biggest difficulty for this lies at the moment. Instruments are not played live at Eurovision unless you're Lucio Corsi's harmonica, and that means Linda will not be playing her violin live. Making it look convincing is a big challenge that has to be passed with flying colours in order for this to work. They have promised that they have big surprises for us, and UMK usually delivers on this front. In terms of national final stagings, it's among the best. Let's not forget that just a couple of weeks ago on this very channel, I was raving about Goldilocks' staging from last year. And the same could be applied to a lot of the other artists in that show as well. Whatever the concept is this time, if it's delivered to the same level, we might well just have a contender for the victory, not just in Tampere, but in the whole contest. The ceiling really is that high for this. I do hope they live up to the quite literally unprecedented amount of hype that this has, even in comparison to Karja and Erika Vikman, because if they do, it will be show-stopping. Now we're moving on to the 3rd song that was released, and that is from Komiat, who are joining with their song Lululai. Lululai, 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 kultani kaunis mun sydämeni vei. Before we start this one, an explanation/apology from me. We were live on stream in Moldova when this song was released and had just finished talking about Janice in the Maltese selection when the premiere for this song started. I encouraged everyone to go and watch it and announce their arrivals with the words, "Do it for Janice." This got really out of hand. A lot more people did it than I expected. We essentially set the whole chat on fire, and I get the impression that there were more than a few people who weren't too impressed. If you're one of these people, we're sorry, we won't do it again. It was good-natured, and I really didn't mean anything bad by it. From what we understand, there is no harm done on any side. Now to the actual song, and it's radically different from both of the songs we've talked about so far, and to all the ones that come after. Though it isn't the only accordion we're going to hear in this show. Komiat consists of Alexi, Samuel, Antero, Juho, and Eero. And they make the kind of music that is very much designed to be listened to live at a festival or after a beer or 7. It's the kind of thing that will make you want to get up and dance and sing. And for that reason, it's pretty well suited for a show like this. It's also a grower because on first listen, I didn't really get it. But after a few more attempts, the chorus is really hooked into my brain. In the context of UMK, where most Finns will have heard the songs several times before the shows, Being a grower is actually an advantage in a way it isn't so much at Eurovision. The song is also unabashedly cheery, and that could make it stand out amongst its competitors. In these shows, there is a place for a reliable formula with widespread popularity among the target audience. And that's exactly what this kind of thing is. Finns are used to hearing music like this, and they engage with it because in their cultural context, it makes sense. I'm not sure it's going to be quite a Windows 95 man level of enthusiasm, which would carry it all the way to victory, but I do think there is some serious televote potential for this. There are some Finnish traditions you need to understand, though, in order to know why. And that's the concept of lavatanssit. Essentially, it's a traditional Finnish dancing event held in pavilions all across the country. It was once so ever-present in Finland that it would literally be shown on primetime TV alongside songs like this on the regular. For those who remember that, there will be a serious nostalgia value here. In the middle of the music video, we see a scene that looks very much like lavatanssit to me. On the night of the show, somewhere in Finland, there will be an old couple remembering the night that they wrote each other's names on their tanssikortti and fell in love, because that's how a great many people of that generation ended up together. Incidentally, you know who was a fixture at performing at these kinds of events in the 2010s? Erika Wickman, the 2016 Tango Queen of Finland. Overall, this song is not exactly my cup of tea, and it's not something I would ordinarily turn to or seek out, but it fits in the context of the show perfectly and stands out among the songs with a heavier subject matter. Hopefully, with the cultural context, if you're not Finnish, even if you don't like it, you can at least understand the appeal. That makes it more than deserve its place here. Speaking of heavier subject matter, next up is Sinikka Monte with her song Ready to Leave.
I hate you when I'm ready to leave.
Every national final needs a James Bond theme. This is the James Bond theme of this year. Sinikka is a new artist, and while researching for this, I learned she was actually born in Scotland. At which point, this immediately played in my brain.
Red is the perfect one. Black is the brooding bad boy. Green is the clown, and yellow, well, she's the girl. So what are you supposed to be?
I'm Scottish!
Back to Bond theme matters now. What's most on the nose about the fact this is a Bond theme is that the subject matter is exactly the kind of thing that you would get in one as well. It's about being done with a man who has been playing with your heart in some way. If you told me that this had been in the running for the end credits of one of the Bond movies, I'd probably believe you. Given Bond's tendency to get very close to his female colleagues and then vanish into thin air by the end of the movie. In most workplaces, this would get you written up, and you'd have to have a meeting with HR. I'm going off on a tangent now. The point is, it's dramatic, it's a ballad, and it's about heartbreak. We do get a lot of ballads in national selections every year, and more than we could ever need or want, to be honest. That means in order to succeed as a ballad, as I've often discussed, you need something that sets you apart. The bar is higher when it's something that's a busy genre. I do feel like this has a bit of that edge, and it's enough to me to have a serious impression of it on the first listen. The production of this, as with all the songs in the selection, is really well done too, and it makes it feel so much more immersive and engaging. I genuinely had goosebumps on my first listen. This isn't reinventing the wheel, and for the most part it's pretty conventional, but it does enough to set itself apart, and if we were anywhere else, I'd probably think it would be on for a run at the top 3. The thing is, in the reality of UMK, and knowing how the public tends to vote, I think we might be looking more like a Alexandra 2023 result here. That was another gorgeous ballad, and finishing second with the juries behind Käärijä was a big success. That said, it didn't really get any traction with the public. As a result, it finished further down the table. I think we might end up there too, but the fact that songs this good are going to finish 5th to 7th in this selection is a testament to how strong it is. As a side note, the line, "You can't hurt me the way that matters," in this song instantly reminded me of that old "You cannot kill me in a way that matters" Tumblr post about mushrooms from like 2013. If you were on Tumblr in that period, you've probably seen enough to traumatize yourself for life, and are also probably frantically trying to avoid the fact that 2013 was 13 years ago. Now for a sentence I have waited many years to say. We finally have throat singing in a national selection. That's thanks to Antti Paalanen with his song Takatukka. You have no idea how long I've been waiting for something like this. It's time for a bit of a side quest. I've loved throat singing since I was about 13 years old, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a type of vocalization that, among other things, can produce 2 notes at once. Though Antti doesn't use that style in this song. What the throat singing being in this selection means, though, is that I finally have an excuse to recommend you a list of my favourites, so that after this video is done, you have some required reading. In brief, here are a bunch of songs that you should listen to that have throat singing. In no particular order: Tuva Groove by Konga Al Onda, Otteken by Saidash Mongus, Amanat by Khasak, Dungaldai by Hunhurtu, Baifang by Hangai, Sastsagan Kharkira by Zorgo, Hulag Bater by Zorgo and Zaya, and literally anything at all by The Who. That is HU, not WHO. Now I've gotten all that out of the way, and you've got that written down for later, let's get back to Antti Paalanen. He is a staple of the folk scene in Finland, and known for being a seriously good accordion player. Accordionist, I guess. I don't know if that's a real word, but it sounds right, so we're going to go with it. What he's brought to us is a song about mullets. So from the first point on, we can see this is going to be a little silly. The whole song is essentially about how a mullet is a superior haircut to all others, and hopefully this will be a little more successful than the last facial hair or head hair effort in the contest, which was mustache in 2014. It was one of my favourites, but it did absolutely awfully. What this does mean though, the fact that I like this means that once again, I'm on the train with the silly man with the silly song. At this point, it's basically a personality trait. To be fair, I couldn't possibly have had fulfilling every folk trope that I've ever loved on my bingo card of things that were going to happen in UMK this year. But this essentially does that. It blends these folkish elements with some more modern ethno-trance vibes. His voice is, of course, so unique, and it's really catchy. You will find yourself going Takatukka, Takatukka, Takatukka after you listen to this, whether you like it or not. I will say there are some things I don't love about this song. I find the tempo changes are a little too jolty and sharp, and this isn't something that can be changed or fixed now, but it is just really sudden. Also, was the AI-generated dog in the outro of the music video really necessary? I've spoken before on multiple occasions about how I really don't have time for generative AI in creative contexts, and this is the same for this. Overall though, this scratches an itch that I had for National's final season at large. It's something so zany and unhinged that it comes all the way back around again and makes perfect sense. I'm curious and terrified to see what it could do on stage, though I should say as well that at this stage, barring an amazing live show, I'm not quite sure I can see it as a contender. It's just a bit too weird, maybe even too weird for Finland, and as a result, I can't see where an enormous televote score is likely to come from unless the live performance is unbelievable. Moving on to song 6 of 7, we have Chachi with her song Cherry Cake.
Baby, like it, maybe. I'm not type of lady, making you a cherry cake.
This is one of the most K-pop coded sounding songs I have heard in a national final in a while. Though I imagine once Alexa releases her song in the Swedish selection, that will knock this off that perch. It is also very audibly written and produced with the help of Johannes Naukarinen, who is most notably behind Cha 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 and Espresso Macchiato. It has that same timbre of drums and bass that tends to be his signature. This is Chachi's first foray into recording her own music, but that's not to say that she's a newbie to creative industries more generally. She's a professional dancer and has been posting on YouTube since the golden age of the mid-2010s. From what I can tell, by that standard, she was absolutely massive at the time. She has more than 1 million subscribers there, and she has more than 1 million followers on Instagram as well. She's American, but she's ended up in Finland thanks to being married to Jukka Hilden, who is part of the group The Dudesons, and has been an active media personality both in Finland and abroad for many years now. Luckily, despite her lack of back catalogue as an artist, we do have some evidence of her ability to sing. That's because she was previously on The Masked Singer in Finland. On that show, she sounded pretty good. Her costume, incidentally, based on some of the people in my Discord server, is the average Friday night dress for an ESC Gabe subscriber. Following in the proud tradition started last year by Milkshake Man, Chachi's song is a not very subtle set of innuendos, wrapped in the language of sweet treats. In this case, cakes rather than milkshakes. It's not quite as blatant as Milkshake Man, but it's not that far off once you start listening. Also, extremely unsurprisingly given Chachi's background, this song contains a dance break. Unless I've literally screened the previous ones out of my memory, I can't remember this happening all too much in UMK in recent years. I am actually really excited about this because she's literally a professional dancer, and this is clearly meant to be the show-stopping moment of this song. This is the one big differentiation that she has, setting her apart from everyone else in the show. And she needs to use it to the max if she's going to push herself up the scoreboard. Dance breaks may be a little stereotypical in a Eurovision context now, but if it's a really good one, people are much more likely to see it positively, and this is just about the best opportunity you're going to get to do that. The number one attraction of this song, though, is that it's just so catchy. It's burned straight into my brain already, and it's only been out a few days. If that is combined with a all singing, all dancing, choreographed with an inch of its life performance, and has the K-pop vibes that I think it needs, then it could do seriously well. Winning is going to be a challenge given the scale of the competition, but this might well be the thing that launches Chachi's singing career. Now we move on to the final of the 7 songs, and that is Kiki with her song Rakkauden Kipe. The 7th slot at UMK last year was Erika Vikman. When Ishkoma dropped, the entire dynamic of the show changed. That's big shoes to fill for Kiki. With that in mind though, this song actually is close to being my personal favourite of the selection, if not actually being my personal favourite. Weirdly, I kind of feel like this would do amazingly in the Swedish national selection, because it's the most well-formed and flawless piece of pop in the entire selection, with bags of space for a staging that matches the drama of the song and hopefully a lot of vocal acrobatics as well. There's also space in the bridge for something dramatic to happen, so I'm intrigued where they're going to go with this. First impressions are everything in a show like this, and the immediate slap in the face that this song delivers in the first few seconds makes you sit up and take notice. It's instantly memorable and it sticks in your head straight away. Whereas some of the songs took me a couple of listens to get into, this one hit instantly. And that could really count for something when it comes to the live show and potentially in Eurovision. From that big opening, what this does really well is continuous development. The song keeps accelerating and keeps changing and evolving while still maintaining a typical pop structure. That makes it accessible, but it keeps things interesting. The beat is more intense and more frantic in the second verse and the second chorus than the first, and it gives the sense of urgency and movement rather than sitting stationary. It keeps you engaged, and then you're hit in the face with the final chorus. I absolutely love the unexpected major chord in this chorus as well, where your brain is kind of preparing you to hear a minor one instead. It just adds that extra little bit that it needs to really elevate it. For my own personal perspective, I want to believe that this is a contender to win, and it's certainly going to be popular among Euro fans. It scratches my brain for me personally in all the right ways. I do worry it might not connect in Finland the same way, and the analysis account all about UMK has already raised this concern. Though I do hope and expect a better performance and better staging than what we got for Benjamin and Sini Sabotage. Deficiencies in those areas were key reasons for their poor results. If this ended up in Eurovision, it would do very, very well indeed. And with Kiki being half Greek, it would probably get a lot of points from Greece and Cyprus. That would already potentially be a 30 or 40 point boost. I really hope this contends for a victory in UMK because it's a fantastic song that deserves to be in that conversation. This year's UMK overall is an interesting one. There's already been plenty of debate online about whether it's a strong or weak year. For me, on one hand, I'm not sure yet whether I see an Erika Vikman or Kari level of hype in here, though Liakin is getting close to that, and I think Kiki is really strong as well. But on the same note, the overall level of these songs is insanely high, possibly the highest I've seen it. There are 0 skips. Every song is already a massive commercial success. The variation across genres is huge for just 7 songs. The tickets are all long since sold out, and the anticipation is already taking over the country a full month ahead of the show. These factors, combined with the ever-improving staging and production quality, which will surely elevate again this year with the return of the genius that is Sergio Hyen, and a third year in the 15,000 capacity Nokia Arena, could well see this ultimately being remembered as the best UMK yet. That said, the streets will never forget UMK 2023. What's already certain in my view is that right now Finland is so far ahead of almost everybody else when it comes to running a national selection that it's starting to get ridiculous. A chasm is opening up. The only competitors realistically are Sanremo and Melodifestivalen, and those have decades of tradition and cultural significance in Italy and Sweden respectively, which UMK doesn't in Finland. Nobody has built a selection like this from the ground up, from nothing, anywhere else in Europe in the same way Finland has. Every single other country and every single broadcaster should be taking notes from this. They have once again managed to get just about every single thing right, and I'm looking forward to seeing that work again in February. The best thing for me is that I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in Tampere for the show, and I'm going to be making a video about the whole experience, of course. I'm super excited to do that, super excited to see what's changed in the 2 years since I was last there, and you should subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that if you haven't already. We were also in Moldova last week, and that was really eye-opening, and you should really go and watch that video once you're done with this one. It's on the channel now. For now, that's your lot. Finland, nobody is doing it like you. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you again in a few days' time.